Welcome to round 10 of All-Stars, our first double-digit round. Last time we dropped ACN and Cherito in 10th and 9th place respectively. This episode, we'll be eliminating 2 more players to leave us with our final 6. That's the top 20%, which is pretty cool. Before we get to results, let's see what the players had to say. Cherito sent a eulogy. He said, "It was 1 round later than I expected, but I've finally been eliminated. I guess I'll never get my revenge on Gizmo for killing me in TMP. Thank you Epsilon for hosting All-Stars even after you promised Roguelike would be the last. All 3 seasons I've competed in have been excellently made with qualities I hope to recreate and share at TWOW. The TWOW community has been very kind and fun for me, and this TWOW is a huge part of that fun. I'm genuinely sad there won't be another season. Good luck to the final 8, and I won't see you next time." Thank you for all the kind words, Cherito. I'm looking forward to joining your solo project. As for confessionals, I only received 1 from Mr. Dell. He said, "They call me Mini Panga Dave because I am dead this round." We'll see if this prediction holds up. Before we begin, I'll run through a few statistics. At the time of me writing this, 96LB still has the lead in team players with 6 team members. Trojan and Not a Donut only have 2. Since last round, Dell started running predictions for this season. They look like this. Pepsi was the only person to correctly predict both 9th and 10th place. Based on their prediction, Not a Donut and Gizmo are slated to die this round. Will that happen? Probably not, but it would be kinda crazy if it did. In fact, more than half of the predictions submitted put Gizmo at 7th. He's even 7th place in standardized ranks right now. Could this be foreshadowing? Again, probably not, but it would be funny if it did. Alright, enough stalling. In case you need a refresher, the contestants were tasked with creating newspaper headlines for 2 scenarios. We'll go through 1 prompt at a time, and this shelf on the left will update as players place. The total score between both prompts is what matters, so nothing is final until players have had both of their responses revealed. Remember, in order to survive this round, you have to avoid the bottom 2. I hope the icons I chose for each contestant are at least somewhat intuitive. You'll pick them up quickly even if they aren't, I think. The first prompt was, "Your newspaper is distributed nationally. Last night, the Carolina Panthers and the Cleveland Browns took the field for the annual Super Bowl. However, after a series of unexpected events, neither team ended up being declared the winner. Report on how this happened." We're revealing players in the order that they placed last round, so Not a Donut is up first. His response was headlined, "Pixar sponsorship goes horribly wrong. Interesting choice to quote this random running back who, from what I can find, might have never given an interview in his life." Anyway, this response received some high praise in the Super Voters channel, but we'll have to see if that translated to results. Let's put somebody on the board. %64%. Not bad at all. Not a Donut's in a good spot early, but we can't call him safe until we get to prompt number 2. Before that, we've got to get through everybody else once over. 96LB is up next with this front page, headlined, "Entire Browns team admitted to ICU." That quote's a risky joke for sure, but come on, it's pretty damn funny. I'm a big fan of 96's response here, but we're the voters. Let's find out. Yes, they were. 96 takes the lead ahead of Not a Donut. 67% isn't the biggest score ever, so there is still room for 96 to lose first in this prompt, but either way, this is a great start for both of our top 2. Coming in 3rd last round was Mr. Dell, whose response was titled, Super Bowl 58 drawn by repetition." Gotta say, the image and the quote in this one work really well together. I have no idea where you even found this picture of Tom Brady. It looks like a screenshot from a broadcast of like Game 13 in 2002 or something. This definitely does count as a chess response, and those tend to do well in TWOW. Will that trend continue here? Let's see. Eh, 56% is a decent score. If Dell can match that in the second prompt, then he's probably golden, but a low score in the second prompt could cripple him. Plasmic Trojan's next to place. His paper was headlined, "Man Steals Game's Ball, Vanishes into Crowd." Trojan was the only person to rely on the image to deliver his punchline. I think he wins the award for the best subtitle. It's hilarious to imagine Waldo causing a detective a mental breakdown. The subtitle was probably the least utilized aspect of the newspaper across the board. Most people relied on the title to set up their joke and the quote space to deliver the punchline. It's cool to see someone break that mold. Will that result in a high score for Trojan, though? Let's see. Not especially. 53% is above the average, sure, but it's not that great. Trojan could end up anywhere depending on how well he does in prompt 2. Moving on, ZX had the newspaper headlined, "Browns score 88 points, go back in time." I'll be honest, I just don't really get this one. I feel like there has to be something that I'm missing here that just kind of ties everything together, because there's a lot that I just don't quite get. I don't get why the number 88 equals time travel, and I don't get why ZX chose the year 1940. I'm almost certain there's some aspect of this response that I just don't understand. I guess we'll be able to see if that's true by looking at ZX's score. It's the lowest so far at exactly 50%. It's kind of odd that everyone who's placed so far is placed at 50% or above. There was a dummy in each round, but they shouldn't be dragging the average down that much. I guess we'll see what ends up happening, both to ZX and to our remaining 3 players. Gizmo's up next. His newspaper read, "Game postponed because postponed." A piece of internet slang so antiquated that I had to dust off the PowerPoint before recording his response. My favorite part about this response is definitely the subtitle. It reminds me of that time the Seahawks fans registered an earthquake for being too damn loud. Other than that, I don't have a ton to say about this response. Let's see how it scored. %, a steep drop from ZX. That's not a good start for Gizmo. Up next, we have TR. His response began, "Panthers and Browns unionize." TR was the only person who didn't use the bottom right for a quote like it was designed for. I did designate that section as a place for quotes, but I never said that was binding or anything. Honestly, I think TR used that space really well. I love how wholesome and simple his pseudo quote is, and it works well with the image. Let's see his score. TR slips into the middle of the pack for now with 53%, placing right above Trojan. That's not a bad place to be, but it definitely isn't guaranteed safety just yet. We still have prompt 2 to get to. 8th place last round, and last to be revealed this round, is The Name's H. His paper was titled, "Game Teleported to Antimatter Dimension." My favorite part of this response is definitely the implication that the Panthers scored more than the Browns. The premise here is pretty clever, and I think this response makes more sense than ZX's, which had a somewhat similar idea of breaking time and space. Let's put H on the board. It's an even tie with Gizmo at 40%. So, it seems we have our 2 contestants on the bubble established. 96 takes the first prompt by a narrow margin, and H and Gizmo are currently at risk of elimination. This is only half the story though. Let's move on to prompt number 2, which was, your newspaper is distributed to a small town of, say, 5,000 people. As such, everybody knows everybody. Well, one person from your town went and did something excellent that gained them national praise. However, everyone in your town knows that this person is a real jerk. Report on the great thing that this person did while implying that it's actually bad. We're going in the same order, so Not a Donut is once again up first. His newspaper was titled, Animal Rights Law Signed, Staying Safe. I'm a bit confused by this one, I'll be honest. The basic premise is obviously that the hated person furthered animal rights, so the newspaper exaggerated it to include, I guess, pets having protection under the Second Amendment. I think I get the idea, but I think the pieces were a little discordant. Enough rambling from me, though. Let's see NAD's score. %. This round just got very interesting. 96LB is up next. His response for this round was headlined, First Inuit Woman Elected to Senate. This is a risky response, I'll give you that. I personally actually think it's hilarious, though. Like, yeah, everyone agrees that this person is a terrible representative for their town. 96's response might be the only one where the people in the small town have a legitimate reason to dislike the described achievement, I think. Let's see how 96 does. %. That's a lot lower than I expected. Wow. 96 now faces the very real possibility that he does not make it out of this round alive, despite winning the first prompt. Up next is Dell for the second time. His response to prompt 2 was headlined, Man Potentially Endangers Homeless. This is a pretty strong response in my opinion. I think quoting a random woman that nobody asked is really funny, even if it does kind of diminish your main point. You know, I really wonder why this image was made. If it's a stock photo, then a homeless guy getting food is kind of a weird thing to make a stock photo out of. Like, is that not a weird idea to pitch? But if it isn't a stock photo, then does that mean that a professional photography team just showed up to a food drive and took a picture of this random guy? Either way, it exists on Google now, so Dell could use it. Let's see how well he did. %. With that score, Dell is the first player safely into the final 6. I bet that's a real nice change from the last 2 rounds where you haven't been declared safe until the very end of results. Now, you're first. I've added a bar showing safety on the shelf on the left, so you can now see what score players need to beat to instantly advance to the next round. Next up is Trojan, who needs roughly 70% to beat Dell. His response to this prompt was titled, Millionaire Caught Pelting Drowning Kid. Once again, Trojan gave the responsibility of delivering the punchline entirely to his image. I think that strategy probably works better for this prompt since it basically asks you to misconstrue something, and an image is naturally harder to misinterpret than text. Let's see Trojan's score. %, right below Dell both for the prompt and in terms of cumulative score. Since Trojan topped 96 though, he's secured a spot in the final 6. The gap between players who are safe and players who aren't is still very wide. With that being said, ZX is up next. Their response to the second prompt had the headline, Local Author Writes Best-Selling Novel, the most subtle response of the round for sure. I knew who Matt Walsh was, but I felt like looking him up anyway while I was writing the script, and wow, his Twitter is a dark place. Stay far away. On a hopefully happier note, let's see ZX's score. Yeah, I feel like we all knew this response was gonna win. I didn't say it before to retain some suspense, but yes, this response is gold and everybody loved it in the Super Voters channel. With 72%, ZX barely doesn't manage to catch Del, but they're still more than high up enough to secure safety, and probably the win for this prompt too. That's a good reward for a good response. Next up to be revealed is Gizmote, who currently sits in the bottom 2. He needs roughly 58% to beat Not a Donut and be declared safe. Gizmote's response for this round was titled, "Local Man Causes Extinction." I like this response a lot more than his response to the first prompt. I especially like the use of ellipses in the quote to completely flip the meaning. It's great that it's so obvious. Let's see how Gizmote does. (56.25%). That's just barely not enough to pass 96. That score unfortunately puts Gizmo right on the bubble as we move into our penultimate reveal. On a brighter note, Not a Donut is in the final 6. We're now at the point of results where a reveal will not only confirm a player's safety, but it'll also confirm a player's death. It's TR against Gizmote for the 5th spot in round 11. We just saw Gizmote's response, so let's compare it to TR's response, which was headlined, "Greg helps depressed teens." Interesting approach here. TR referenced the Suicide King card from second stage, which was a route that didn't work for ACN last round, but I think this is okay since it's just a small part of TR's response and not the entire joke. The reference just works much better as a detail. The joke I got from this response is that the quotation marks seem like they're implying some alternate meaning when in reality they're completely meaningless. If that's what it is, that's actually pretty clever. TR needs roughly 43% to eliminate Gizmote and only a few more percent to place above 96 and secure safety. Let's see TR's score. (50%). TR secures his place in the final 6 at the heavy expense of Gizmote's life in the game. I'm sorry that you couldn't make another run to the podium, Gizmote. The final person to be revealed for the second time is the name's H. He needs roughly 57% or more to survive. 96 needs H to score worse than that for him to survive. Between the two item juggernauts, there's only one spot left in the final 6 to battle over. H's response was titled, "New hot dog eating competition record." The drawing of the Hamburglar was pulled from Google Images, so I guess somebody just posted their Hamburglar fan art somewhere. Once again, the use of ellipses is really funny, and I kind of like how it's more vague in H's quote. Remember, 57% to live. Let's see if H can pull it off. No, he can't. With a score of 39%, H is eliminated in 8th place. Gizmote takes 7th, and 96LB slips into the final 6, barely avoiding choking on the second prompt. The name's H in 8th? Yeah, I'm surprised too. I'm gonna go ahead and say that finals are probably responsible for this, I would guess. H began with a flop in round 1, and then he decided that he just simply wasn't going to do that again. Between rounds 2 and 7, H's lowest placement was 6th. That's an incredibly impressive streak. During that run, H got his best score in round 3 with a real contender for the best response I've seen all season. Once we got to 3rd stage though, H got busy and couldn't keep up with the rest of the group. Thank you for competing, H. You improved the quality of my seasons simply by being a competitor in them. You were the last season winner left, and I think you put up a good fight to defend your title. I guess you're only allowed to win even-numbered seasons here. And just like that, our Season 4 finalists are eliminated together in an instant. Gizmo takes 7th place. Gizmo, you played your usual consistent game this season, and it worked pretty much perfectly to guarantee you a spot in Alumni. I've always liked how you're willing to use a strategy that no one else is using, and this season that didn't change with your use of half response coupons. It's always so fun to root for someone who's doing something unique. It does suck that you won't be able to get the season win you deserve here, but there just aren't enough of those to go around, I guess. Thank you for joining Gizmo, and good job on reaching 7th place. Okay, final 6. Let's look at statistics. ZX extended their frontrunner lead over Trojan by a little bit at the top of the standardized ranks leaderboard. TR defied the ever-present efficiency curse this round by not dying, but he's still at the bottom of the SR leaderboard. Other than that, Mr. Dell jumped over both Not a Donut and 96 with his round win, so now he's in 3rd. I doubt he'll be catching Trojan though. Remember those predictions I mentioned before results? Well, you may remember that an abnormal amount of people predicted Gizmo to get 7th, and well, he did. The only person who correctly predicted the name's H at 8th place was 96LB, but his prediction was just in alphabetical order, so it really doesn't count. Okay, let's get on to the round 11 twist. Alright, you're gonna have to bear with me on this one. I think it's gonna be fun, I think it's gonna be good, but just let me get through the whole thing before you judge it, alright? Alright. Throughout my time hosting, I've used a lot of prompts. Some have been better than others, but every once in a while I'll use one that I felt just didn't quite have its full potential brought out by the contestants. So we're gonna see what you all can do to improve on that. Here's how this is gonna work. You'll all send 1 response each to 3 prompts that were used in my first 3 seasons. The difference is that those seasons used the 10-word limit and were in like 2019, and we're retaining the 100 character limit for this round. You all have access to the responses submitted to each prompt's original round, but you can't just copy their ideas. Because in addition to the 6 responses coming from all-stars for each prompt, 6 responses randomly selected from the prompt's original round will be included in voting. However, these responses will be omitted from votes. They're being included to punish people whose ideas just aren't fresh enough compared to old responses, so they won't be scored in any way. This round will be scored in the same way as last round, where the total score for each player between all 3 rounds determines their final placement. Now, let's see the 3 prompts. From Season 1, Round 5. Explain why something inedible is actually very nutritious. From Season 1, Round 7. A 100% accurate fortune teller has told you your future cause of death, but not the date of it. How do you avoid dying? From Season 3, Round 9. What can you add to an existing attraction or monument to spice it up and make people want to visit it more? Some of you have answered some of these prompts before, but they're very old responses and they're under the 10-word limit, so I really don't think that matters. I think the 100 character limit, coupled with all of you being presumably better at TWOWing, the 100 character limit coupled with the fact that all of you have improved at the game a lot, will really allow you guys to make some standout responses to these prompts, I think. You can access the original leaderboards for these rounds in the pinned messages of the statistics channels to see what ideas might be included in voting that you'll need to either avoid or heavily improve upon. Remember, 6 of the responses from each original round will be put into voting, so you should avoid overlapping with them. Also, remember that this round is 100 characters. You have more real estate to work with than the original responders, so put it to good use. The top 5 highest scoring players will move on to round 12, while the lowest scoring player will be eliminated at 6th place. Good luck, All-Stars.